welcome back everybody to Dynasty Racing League TV. Tonight we bring you Dynasty Racing League's Fastlane Cup Series, live from Fontana, California at the Auto Club Speedway for the Auto Club 200. My name's Ryan Branch. I'm joined in the booth tonight by a stand-in for my usual co-broadcaster, Martin Wenzel. Tonight we have Mr. Zach Wetstein in the broadcast booth. Zach, welcome to the booth.
Good to be here.
Hey man, we got 100 laps around this track tonight. It's going to test everything these drivers have been working on all throughout the week. The track is slick, it's fast, the car pushes out of the corners but can snap loose if you overdrive it. What do you think? You think we're going to see a lot of cautions tonight? Do you think the drivers got what it takes to put in some long green flag runs here?
From what we've seen from these races, these drivers have been able to stay off of each other a lot. So as long as these guys are able to manage their tires and keep it off of each other and keep the hard racing for the end of the race, I think we can see some pretty good long green flag runs.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Looks like just looking over some practice timing, we got our usual guys are up there towards the front. Eric Wolf, Anthony Burrows, Wade Hustad, Daniel Hallis, Jonathan Schwartz, guys we continue to see in the top 5, top 10 every week. I know last week we interviewed Eric Wolf. I know he likes it here at Auto Club. Maybe he'll be able to go out and get his first victory here in the Cup Series.
Yeah, he's come close plenty of times, and I know he likes these 2-mile tracks. Him and Anthony Burrows, obviously fast every week, but I've seen Eric Wolf excel before on these 2-mile tracks, so we'll see if he's got what it takes.
Definitely going to be interesting. We're about to go to qualifying here as these guys start their qualifying session. Let's go through and see. Let's see who's on the track. Look like Chris Torrance pulls out on the track quickly. Chris Stouffer's out there. Zachary Smith. David Wellborn, who I broadcasted with last night, guys. Obviously, we have multiple leagues here at DRL. Last night was the Northeast Ohio Ghostbusters Grand National Series. Those guys racing the B cars. David said he's going to come out here and put on a good showing tonight, so see how he makes his way around the track.
Yeah, we'll see how he does. He's a pretty good driver. He told me that he likes to save his tires and keep them for the long run. So if we can indeed get some long green flag runs, we'll see if he can implement into his strategy.
He's not one of our higher I-rating drivers here at DRL, but he does want to race in these Cup cars. This is the race he prefers to run in every week. Makes himself available for broadcasting and other things with the DRL on Mondays and Wednesday nights. So, but he always manages to kind of just stick around. He's consistent. He's not consistently, in the top 5, but he does get top 10 finishes, and he'll probably sneak his way into the playoffs this season.
Yeah, a lot of times that's key is you don't always have to run up front to be consistent and finish well. Obviously, a lot in these races, as you've obviously seen, there haven't been a lot of wrecks in these races, so you don't get a lot of chances to pass on restarts in this series so far. So they really have to make their work just being consistent and not really messing up a lot.
Looks like he's already steadfastly dropping back. He's currently sitting 7th right now on qualifying. We'll hop over to Anthony Burrows' car and see how he's doing here in the 62. He's yet to post his first time yet. Should be coming to the checker here any second. To the start-finish line. You see they drop real low, and then they swing up real high and dive down in the apex of these corners. So this track's definitely a little different 2-mile than what we're used to. Normally in these bigger tracks like Daytona, Talladega, these guys can run wide open all the way around the corners. The way this track is shaped, you can't really do that. So everything's going to be tested. Like I said in the intro there, consistency's key here. And if there's one guy that's consistent, Anthony Burrows is definitely it.
Yeah, I expect to see Anthony Burrows obviously qualify up somewhere near the front, if not the pole. But
like the car got a little loose coming out of 4 there.
Yeah, he's still able to put up the best time. We've seen him drop back from the lead a couple of times, saving tires, and then you see him 20, 30 laps come back. So I expect him to save his tires a little bit at this start, and then we'll probably see him storm to the front after that.
So again, we have Anthony Burrows. Looks like for now he gets the pole. And then Eric Wolf sits in second. Wade Hustad currently holds the third position. He had an unfortunate accident in last night's race. Kind of on a restart, the field got stacked up a little bit, and he got a little antsy, got into the gas a little too soon, and kind of wrecked out the whole field. So hopefully we don't see a repeat of that this evening.
Yeah, I don't expect that from him. He's a really good driver. He just made a simple mistake, which these drivers will obviously make eventually. But I expect him to rebound tonight with a good race.
We got a couple guys out on the track. Let's see who else is out there. Almost everybody's done qualifying at this point.
Yeah. Speaking about this track, it's not only the way the turns are shaped cause you not to be able to go wide open, but these bumps are brutal. If you hit these bumps any way wrong, it can send your car either getting loose or you can get real tight because of them. So these drivers are going to have to manage where they are around those bumps as well.
Yeah, I think this is one of the, if not the longest track in NASCAR since it's been repaved. It might be second longest. So yeah, the track is crazy. When you're heading, you get real down close to that apron in the middle of the corner. The car it wants to bounce itself towards the outside corner, especially if you're doing 185. So if you got that wheel pulled a little too far to the left, the car can snap loose on you.
Yeah, like you said earlier, there's many different things that can happen to your car here. There's tight, loose. You put your car into a situation where either one can happen, and you've just got to find a way to keep your car under control and not wreck yourself.
We're going to go down. We're going to pull Anthony Burrows in here. Congratulate him on yet another pole position. I think that's 3 already for him this season. So, actually, yeah, he's just killing it. This is crazy. Let's see if I can go in and find him as I pull the grid up here. Anthony Burrows, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Hey, man, yet another pole position here in the Cup Series. It's seeming like every single week we're interviewing you on the pole. You ready to go out and take this thing from Eric tonight or what?
I'm definitely looking forward to tonight's race. Definitely one of my favorite tracks to come out to. Love coming out here. Just such a wide track, and once the car starts getting loose, it's so much fun to drive it here.
I can't wait to watch the action, man. Good luck up there, and hopefully we'll be interviewing you again at the end of the race.
Thank you.
Good luck, Anthony.
All right, so I'm going to go through the grid here. These guys actually grid up on pit road on this racetrack. We got Anthony Burrows in the first position. Eric Wolf, like I said, took second. Wade Hustad takes third. Chaz Presnall in the 55 has the fourth position. Mike Springer in fifth. Jonathan Schwartz is sixth. Chris Stouffer seventh in the 07. John Theodore sits eighth. John Mullins in ninth position. Daniel Hallis in 10th. Chris James sits 11th. Brandon Dalton 12th in the 85. Eric Johnson in the 21 sits 13th. Joseph Nover 14th. Aaron James 15th. David Wellborn 16th. Jeffrey Meyer sits in 17th position with Dustin Musial in 18th. Joshua Wakefield in the 35 sits in 19th with Chris Torrance on the outside line there sitting in 20th position. Jordan Gonzalez 21st. David Wright 22nd. Zachary Smith 23rd. It looks like as of now, oh yeah, Mark Vega is our race control for this evening, so he will show up on a few of the graphics, but he is race control, him and Tater Bowman. I can't wait for this thing to get started, man. This first lap is going to be, it's going to take a little time for these guys to go these 2 miles around this track, but when they come back around to the start-finish line, we will be collecting the green flag.
Yeah, look for 3, maybe 4 wide. I don't know how these drivers are going to drive this on the start. If they're going to be patient or if they're going to be aggressive. But if it turns out and they're aggressive, somewhere on the track, we will probably see 3 or 4 wide in turn 1. Just have to wait to the start to find out.
Yeah, I think we're going to see similar to what we've seen in past weeks. Eric Wolf's going to try to get a quick jump off the start here and dive down to that inside line and get right in front of the 32 of Hustad, who is actually rocking a little different paint scheme this evening. He's in, what is that? He's in kind of a plain white car there. So Mike Springer there in the Butterfinger 12 as the pace car pulls off, and these guys are ready to go green.
Flag.
Green, 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 just as I said. Eric Wolf does pull down to that inside line as Anthony Burrows takes the quick lead.
Yeah, we'll see how he manages those tires there up front.
This thing is all about hitting your marks, though. You did see them both coast right up towards that outside wall as they head into that first corner.
Yeah, you got to set up your turn going into both turn 1 and turn 3. If you don't set up your turn right, you could really mess up your whole entry and center.
With the 62 of Anthony Burrows, Eric Wolf sitting third. Wade Hustad is currently battling Jonathan Schwartz there. Hustad has the outside line. Schwartz is taking the inside line. Those two stay off of each other. You don't know, being the 58 there, you don't know where that 32 is on the outside of you, so you can only coast up the track so much. And, if you get even the least bit scared with these electronic spotters that we have, you can really upset the car.
Yeah, with these cars, you never know how the other person's going to race. You don't know if they're going to try to pinch you down low, so you've always got to be safe and make sure not to come up into them and ruin your race in lap 2. So, good racing by them so far. Got Eric Wolf coming on the back of Anthony here. See if he can make the pass.
So I know you raced in this series last year, Zach. What do you think this year? With the competition being a little more stiff than it is, it's been exciting, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. We've picked up a bunch of great drivers for this league, and obviously the racing has shown. I mean, just so many good runs with these drivers. I haven't run the Cup Series yet, obviously, but just from watching these guys put on a great show every single week. Every series does. Just a bunch of drivers have joined this league that know what they're doing and put on a good show.
It's like Wade Hustad. He had, like I said, he had some issues last night. He might be in a little over his head up here, running in the top 5. He's now been passed by 2 different people. He got real close to the wall on that last straightaway, coming out of the corner, and almost put the car right in the wall. As we saw the 55 there, Presnall scrapes the wall a little bit as well.
Yeah, one thing about Wade is it's kind of similar with Anthony. Obviously, Anthony right now isn't saving a lot, but one thing with Wade is he does save sometimes when I raced with him. So we'll see if he's either slowing down because he's saving or if he just doesn't have the speed to match these top 5.
Yeah, Anthony's put a little bit of gap on those top 5 drivers, but the next 3 are all right on top of each other. We saw the 58 of Jonathan Schwartz actually gets around Eric Wolf, so I don't know what's going on with Eric. I'm sure he's, again, everybody's saving tires as much as they can. It can be really, really hard here. 200, like the bumps we spoke about earlier, the middle of this corner just shove the car so hard towards that outside wall. You're fighting the car the entire time, and it is not nice on these tires at all.
Yeah, also trying to save tires here. People can get a bit impatient because it's such a big track, and when you're saving tires, it's not like a short track where you still have the next driver ahead of you, almost right in front of you. Even if you're saving, they're going to gain some distance on you if you're saving. You just got to know how to be patient and know that those tires will eventually come in.
Yeah, you kind of got to let the car work back to you, over time. It can be hard when you see the guy almost a whole straightaway in front of you at some points in the race. It's just these guys haven't quite strung out that far, but it will happen. We're only 6 laps in here out of 100. And just like you said, if this thing goes green like last week, I mean, that thing went green forever. I thought we were never going to have a caution. Then we had a couple stack up on top of each other. So If this thing does go green, there's no telling what will happen in the pits. There's no telling how good the guys will be able to adjust when they get back on fresh tires. So
Yeah,
going to be fun to watch, so that's for sure.
pit entry here is deceiving because maybe on brand new tires it's easy to pit while under green, but obviously you're not going to do that. But when you're on old tires here, when you try come breaking out of that turn to go to pit road, you can easily spin those tires and spin yourself out. So you got to be real careful as we see the 58 of Jonathan Schwartz coming up to the bumper of Anthony soon.
Yeah, it's a little different than most of these bigger tracks where that whole pit road is kind of open all the way through the corner. Auto Club, it kind of just cuts down there at the last second out of 4, so definitely can be difficult to get yourself down. I think it's 55 miles an hour here is pace speed, so again, like you said, we got the 62 of Anthony Burrows kind of taking off. Jonathan Schwartz shortly on his bumper put a little bit of a gap there on Eric Wolf. Currently sits third in 24.
Yep, he's playing it patient. I think we'll see as we continue this green flag run here.
All these drivers look like they're staying pretty patient, just running single file, collecting some laps. It's a long race. You know, one driver I'm pretty interested in seeing this evening is Mike Springer. We know he likes to run those high lines. He's always been patient. He likes to save tires and let the car come to him over time, and I think he's going to be good here late.
Yeah, it just depends how he runs. We'll see later on if that indeed is true.
We'll go back and look. We got Chris Stover in the 07, still sits in 7th position. Daniel Hallis in the 72 sits 8th. Eric Johnson, normally he's one of those guys up there running in the top 5. Maybe he's not a big fan of Auto Club. There in the 21. Doesn't seem to be hanging out with those guys up front. We'll look at his driver information. He has an I rating of 51.78. He did start in 13th, so he's got himself 4 positions, but most of those were on the restart at the beginning of the race there. So maybe he's a little out of his element here at Auto Club or didn't get enough practice in this week.
Yes, if anybody watched the stream yesterday, he won that race in the Grand National Series. As we see him coming to the bumper of Daniel House here, he's going to get side by side with him and probably take it out of this turn. He's pretty fast here. Obviously, he's had to overcome starting from 13th, but I think he'll be able to pull off a solid top 5 finish here.
So, Zach, we see some of these guys, look like Chris Stover did it on accident there. He kind of dropped towards the apron. Why do some of these guys dip down on the apron on the tri-oval? Does it actually help them?
It helps when you're in a battle. If you're not in a battle, it doesn't really help much, like other tracks, say Michigan, where you can actually gain time on somebody. That apron is just not wide enough and it doesn't have enough grip when you go on it to really catch somebody. The most of the time when you see somebody on the apron, they're side by side with somebody trying to overtake them or hold that position.
Yeah, it can definitely upset the car a little bit when you drop down there, and then again it upsets the car when you're coming out, and it might mess up the angle you want going into turn 1. So, you know, like you said, I think we'll only see guys really using that if they're getting up near somebody and they need to force their way to the inside and say, hey, this position's mine, you know?
Yeah, one thing that makes it interesting when you drop down there, though, is you got to make sure that the person that is on the regular tri-oval has given you enough room to come up, or else you could really create trouble there.
Moving my way back through the field, we see Aaron James here in the 66. He's currently running in 12th position. John Mullins in the 64. He runs 13th. And there's good old trusty David Wellborn running almost side by side with Jordan Gonzalez there in the 9. Being as patient as he can be. Oh, those cars make a little crossover there. I don't think Jordan really knew what David was going to do, but they managed to avoid contact. We got Chris James here. He's in the 82 Coors Light car. He sits 16th. Joseph Nover in the 40 Pennzoil. He sits in 17th position. Dustin Musial in the Bud Light car there. He sits in 22nd. Jeffrey Meyer, he sits in 18th. He's in the 22. Jeffrey Meyer sits 19th. David Wright in the 44 sits 20th. Joshua Wakefield, 21st. Zachary Smith, 22nd. And Chris Torrance Jr. has actually, you guys see him there on pit lane. He is I think this is 2 weeks in a row we've actually had Chris Torrance out of the race early. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him.
I'm looking at his ping right now. He looks good on the internet. I don't know if maybe he just had something go on or
He must
a little
have,
unfair.
yeah, might have had connection issues or something of the like. But yeah, he's been on pit road for over 400 seconds now, so he was out for the race. To go
Yeah,
back
that's
up
unfortunate.
yet again. I mean, we got Jonathan Schwartz is sitting in first. Eric did make the move there on Anthony Burrows. He currently sits second, right behind the 58 of Schwartz. So that gap closed up. Anthony Burrows didn't run away with it. Hopefully, he didn't eat his tires up too much. As now we see Eric Wolf move down to the inside of the 58. He was going to try to stick a nose in here and take it in this corner.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try with Anthony Burrows. Maybe he's doing what I expected earlier and is dropping back, trying to save those tires for later on. It's Eric Wolf, tight squeeze ahead of Jonathan Schwartz.
Very close. Looks like Schwartz tries to pull the crossover, but Eric Wolf stays right in front of him. You know, what amazes me, Zach, is how good these guys are every single week, how fast they are, and how after 100 laps of driving, they can finish mere inches from each other. It absolutely amazes me how much respect they give one another out on the track out there and manage to stay out of each other with as close a driving as they do.
Yeah, you mentioned respect, and I mean, you're this early in the race. There's no reason really to hit anybody or bump them. But if you happen to do that, it goes along with the respect that they will probably end up doing it later if you are still racing them. So that's one thing you got to look out. But these guys are real good with racing each other as clean as they can while racing as hard as.
You know, I saw something. I saw something last night. I think it was, yeah. We were actually coming around on the white flag, and I think second had an opportunity to move first position out of the way. Elected not to do so because he wasn't running for points in that series. But all of the drivers here at DRL have an immense amount of respect for one another. Try to keep the racing as clean as possible. In that situation, me and David Wellborn both said it. I would have moved him, but you know, that comes down to each individual driver and how well they'll be able to sleep that night, knowing that maybe their victory wasn't the cleanest.
Yeah, one thing you got to remember is even when it's at the end of a race, we still have a lot of races in this season. And people will remember that if you wreck them racing for a position. People have a while to remember that. So not only is it remembering it through a race, but through a season. So that's one thing these guys are trying to avoid.
Yeah, you never know when it's going to come back to haunt you. You're in a situation late in the playoffs, and somebody goes, "Hey, remember that time?" Well, guess what? Now it's your turn.
Yeah, you don't want that. Still got Anthony Burrows on Jonathan Schwartz bumper here. Eric Wolf's pulled a little bit of a distance ahead of Jonathan.
You know, I think, again, this is just coming down to consistency. A lot of times, we saw it last night by Ryan Hesgaard early in the race. He got out, and if you're the guy out there with 100% clean air, you don't have to worry about the car in front of you. You don't have to worry about the car behind you. You kind of just run your line, and sometimes it allows you to be a little more consistent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as we've seen Eric Wolf do before countless times, is when he gets out in that lead, you don't see him make many mistakes, if at all. And that's with Anthony Burrows, and that's with a lot of people in this field. When they're not racing somebody, they're hitting their exact marks just about every time. That's how consistent these guys are.
You see, all five of those drivers came right up next to that 3 on the wall there, within inches of the wall. I mean, these guys have this down to a T. It's absolutely crazy. And the funny part is nobody can really see it at home, but these guys are getting into the gas in the middle of this corner. And they're holding the gas and they're holding the wheel all the way to the left, and the car coasts itself right up to within a foot of that wall. I mean, it's ridiculous. And if you have to let off because you are coasting too close to the wall, it absolutely ruins your speed going down the backstretch. You would see cars getting passed on every straightaway, and that's not happening here. So these guys are hitting these marks almost perfectly every time around the track. It's pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah, and having to let off out of the turn also deals with getting on the gas too early. As these tires start to wear, the more you have to let the car flow through the turn. And if you get on the gas too early, that car will get real tight and push up the track, and you're more than likely going to lose a good amount of positions here.
Let's go in right along here with Anthony Burrows and see exactly what he's seeing as he rides behind the 58 of Jonathan Schwartz. Again, you heard him right there. He gets right back into the gas. He coasts right up close to the wall. Looks like he's going to dip down inside the 58 here and maybe give him a run for his money coming into turn 1.
Yeah, I think he has keen position going in this turn. Is going to complete it. Yes, he is. Jonathan Schwartz will fall back to third.
Yeah, he gets himself right down on that white line, sticks the tires down there, and again, back in the gas. And, people sometimes, fans of other racing sports and motorsports in general kind of make fun of NASCAR because it's just turning left. But you see Anthony Burrows' wheel, it moves to the left, it moves to the right. When they're coming out of these corners, he's basically headed directly at a wall doing 200 miles an hour and has to adjust for it. So there's definitely a lot more that goes into NASCAR. It's not just getting in a car and turning left for 200 laps, that's for sure, or 200 miles.
Yeah, you have tracks where, yeah, you're on the gas the whole time, but you're inches apart of everyone around you. First to 20th is a second apart. You have tracks that are a mile long and use a lot of brake. And then tracks like this where it's a long track, but you also have to use some brake and get on the gas at the right time.
So these top 5 seem to be holding it pretty steady. Eric Wolf currently runs in first. Anthony Burrows second in the 62. Jonathan Schwartz sits third in the number 58. Wade Hustad fourth in the 32. And Chad Presnall still sits in the 5th position. He has dropped back from those other 4 individuals a little bit, but the top 4 seem to just be, as we've seen week in and week out, they're kind of just running away with it.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed looking back in the field a little bit is that Eric Johnson, once he took that spot from Daniel House, hasn't really moved. So we'll look at that throughout the race. But yeah, this top 4 are just fast and pulling away, 2 seconds ahead of 5th.
Yeah, you got Eric Johnson back here in 7th. He is actually almost 6 seconds back of the leader now. So back to 5th is about 2.5 seconds. 6th is Mike Springer. There in the number 12 Butterfinger car. He sits almost 4 seconds back, and Eric Johnson, after that last lap, he just did drop more than 6 seconds behind the leader. So the field is definitely thinning out. It's still going to be a little bit before these guys, let's see. They run about, right now, they're running about a 42-second lap or so. And Zachary Smith, who sits in 22nd position, he's the first lap car they're going to be coming up on here in probably just a lap or 2.
Yeah, that's another thing you can tell the difference between the leaders and people running back in the pack, as you just said that they were running 42 laps. Well, Eric Wolf is running a 41.8. This time by, he ran a 41.9. So these guys just show how consistently fast they are and show how they separate from the field so fast.
I mean, Zachary Smith actually just ran a 58-second lap. He had some issues. He had to come down pit road. Eric Johnson looks like he's coming down pit road. You know, we've seen this from Eric Johnson, and really it worked out for him last week. If it wasn't for the cautions, I think Eric Johnson had a great chance of winning last week as he comes down pit road. I can only imagine that isn't due to damage. He's probably coming in to get tires as we're now 26 out of 100 laps. These guys have already put over 50 miles on the tires here, Zach.
Yeah, Zachary Smith is disconnected, so problems for him. And Eric Johnson, you've got to think that he probably burnt his tires up more than those leaders. If he does have speed for them, which we can only find out in time, you got to think maybe fighting from 13th to 7th through all those cars really burn up his tires. So as we get through this race, we'll see how he handles his car. Anthony Burrows pulling up on the 24 of Eric Wolf. See if Anthony can pull it off here. Right to the bumper of Eric. They're getting a little bit squirrely too.
Yeah, these cars got to be getting loose, man. We now see Joshua Wakefield. He's on pit road. I mean, these guys are, as you see the 24 wiggle a little bit. The tires are definitely getting to him, Zach.
Yeah, they're getting very loose, and you've got to think the amount of people that start pitting, we might see a lot more come down pit road. But as we've seen from these drivers before, as Eric gets squirrely again at a 4, they try to go as long as they can and hope for a caution. As Anthony checking on the outside of Eric Wolf. Going to turn 1 side by side.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be. I mean, we've seen a lot of it so far this season already. They changed up the package a little bit in these cars. We've seen a lot of passes on the outside. I don't actually race these in official races, but I've heard a lot of guys talking about these cars being able to make passes on the outside. I don't know. Anthony looks like he might be making it work. You know,
Oh,
you
yeah,
trap
old
that
time.
guy down there. He's on old tires. He gets afraid to come up into you. Again, they respect each other greatly. He might be able to make it work out here as these guys continue to run right next to one another.
Yeah, on old tires, you can definitely make this work solely on the fact that Eric Wolf, when he goes to the bottom, he's got to let off really early and preserve getting on the gas, or else he'll get tight and come up into Anthony as Anthony makes the pass. So on old tires, you can definitely make that outside work if you are able to be patient enough. And just as I thought, Anthony Burrows fell back a little bit and right back to the lead about 20 laps later.
Yes, sir.
We'll see how much he's able to pull here on Eric Wolf before these guys think about pitting. Should be interesting to see how long these guys stay out. Obviously, they are faster, but new tires do rule over old tires here, so we'll see how this works out.
Okay, you got Christopher come down and made his pit. Joseph Nover with a 14.7 there on pit road.
It looks like about everybody, 8th and back has made their, not 8th and back, but there's been a lot of people behind 8th that have made their pit.
Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 5 or 6 drivers so far have decided to pit. I almost wonder. I mean, Eric Johnson is only 5 laps in on his tires, and you know he was doing this last week. So what he did was he was going to pit 3 times. Eric Wolf was only pitting once last week until we got those cautions. You had Anthony Burrows and the other guys that were running in the top 5. They were going to take 2 pit stops. As we see, Eric Johnson here gets the easy pass on Eric Wolf and reels in Anthony Burrows. But he was actually going to pit one more time than even Anthony himself, who was pitting one more time than Eric. So I don't think Eric will make the same mistake and try to run as long as he did. I don't think he's going to try to go 50 laps here at Auto Club, but you never know. And now we see Mike Springer makes his way down to pit road.
Yeah, what these, for anybody that maybe doesn't know, what these guys that are staying out are doing are putting as many of the people that pit a lap down as they can, and then hoping for a caution so that they have that many people trapped under caution or trapped under a lap down. And so that's what these guys are hoping to do. See how it works out. Eric Wolf pulling down the pit road here.
See, Eric comes down and decides to take his pit stop. And guys, that makes sense. If we look at it, we just had Anthony Burrows come across the start-finish line. He's now on lap 34 out of 100. That does split this race up into thirds. Allows Eric to make 2 pit stops. Again, he doesn't want to make that same mistake like he did last week. I don't even know if these guys have enough fuel to make it 50 laps, even if he did decide to stay out on old tires. So, Jordan Gonzalez in the number 9 currently sits 16th. He pulls down pit road as well.
Expect to see Anthony pull down pit road here. If he doesn't, I'll be surprised because Eric.
Yeah, I would
pitting.
expect it again. Yeah, and here comes Anthony Burrows. Drops down
Once
on that
that
apron. The 58 of Jonathan Schwartz comes down. The 32 of Wade Hustad follows him. All 3 of those guys taking their pit at the exact same time. Chad Pressball on the 55. Everybody's following suit now, Zach.
I think this will work out for Eric Wolf, honestly. Usually the first guy to pit is able to gain time on these guys pitting, so we'll see where he comes out.
Yeah, he gets that little bit of a short pit. Gets one fresher lap on his tires than the other guy did, and probably he'll come out, I'm guessing, right around 2 seconds ahead of Anthony Burrows at the end of it.
Yeah, we'll see where he comes out.
Oh no, and
Coming around.
who's that we have issues with? It looks like the 55 of Presnall just had a horrible pit situation down there.
Yeah, that's
Where is
easy to do
he
here.
at?
Slide through
Yeah,
your pit.
he moved forward, he moved back. All of these cars are pulling off pit road, and Mr. Presnall just gets away. So he had a 15.45. That does not include how long it took him just to get into the stall. So
We see Eric Wolf. He's going to have a sizable lead here, just like you said, about probably 2 seconds or more.
we got Daniel Hallis in the number 72 with the beautiful Northeast Ohio Ghostbusters paint scheme there. They are, of course, our race sponsor for our Grand National Series on Monday nights. We got to thank, huge shout out to Fastlane Complete Car Care LLC. They are the sponsors for this series, as you see there in your top left, Fastlane Cup Series. That's what the series is named after. Huge thanks to them for fronting the money. You know, a ton of work that goes into Dynasty Racing League to bring you these broadcasts every week, and we can't thank our sponsors enough.
Yeah, they help us run a great series. And I apologize for saying Eric Wolf running for the lead. Once the rest of these guys pit, if they do before a caution maybe comes out. Between him, Eric Johnson is ahead of him by 5 seconds, ahead of Eric Wolf, but I don't think that's going to last. But I would think that him and Anthony right now is the race for the lead if no caution comes out soon.
Yeah, Eric Johnson has 11 laps on his tires now. Eric Wolf only has 2.5 to 3 laps on his tires. So Eric Johnson does have that lead, but that is now about 4 seconds, 4.5 seconds. Eric Wolf's going to close that pretty quickly here.
Yeah, Eric Johnson honestly is probably hoping that these guys pit soon and caution comes out fitting just for him, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, he would definitely need a caution shortly after. Now that we've strung out, these guys have kind of cycled through. I said we have over half the field has already cycled through their pit stops. I don't see a caution coming out anytime soon unless we have a major mistake by one of these drivers, Zach.
Yeah, me neither. As I think we see David Wellborn pitting here.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
Wellborn, he makes his pit.
These top, I would say 5 guys, 6 drivers, up to John Mullins, are going to stay out as long as they can with this fuel. They have about, I would say, 10 laps left on this fuel, and just hoping for a caution before they have to pit.
You know, and that makes me wonder. We have Aaron James coming down pit road there in the 66 now. Are they waiting for a caution? I mean, is that what they're waiting on, or do you think these guys think they can really split this race in half? And with the lap fall off, we just had Daniel Hallis run a 43-second lap around Auto Club. If we go back to somebody like Eric Johnson, like I said, who has 13 laps on his tires, he ran a 41.366, and Eric Wolf, who sits just behind him, ran a 40.328. So he's over 2.5 seconds quicker than Daniel Hallis. You got to think he's going to make that up in the, you know, what is it? If you got if he's pitting twice, that's 16 laps on both pit stops. You're talking 32, 33 laps. That's 32 times 2.5. I don't know if the math makes sense, man.
Yeah, these drivers staying out are more than likely not trying to split the race. They could be, but these drivers are really hoping for a caution because if they have to pit now, they could go a lap or more down. Probably just one, but staying out at this point only puts you in danger unless a caution comes out. So that's what I see, is they're just hoping for a caution here.
You know, it surprises me, Zach, that we got these guys staying out after how well everybody's raced the last few weeks, how long we went green last week. Typically, when the first caution occurs, a couple other ones are going to happen after it because everybody kind of gets a little antsy as the race wears on and people want to make up positions. But these guys raced amazing last week at a very, very difficult track, and I just don't see it happening here tonight.
Yeah, me neither. As Eric Wolf pulls up on Eric Johnson here. Yeah, it's kind of like Phoenix, where if we're going to have a caution in this race, I think it's going to come late where people are just racing hard for a position. They really want it, but they're racing a little bit too hard. And then it's on those restarts and what's happening. So if it's going to come, I think it's going to come late.
And there he goes. Eric Wolf gets around the 21 of Eric Johnson.
And if this can last about... Go ahead.
Yeah, even though it doesn't show it, I think it's safe to say he is currently our race leader.
Yeah, if this green flag lasts about 6 or 7 more laps, this will be our new race leader, as we only have 4 drivers out there now. So,
And there you see him lurking, the number 62 of Mr. Anthony Burrows. He's coming up on him.
yeah, he's still 15 seconds ahead of Daniel Hollis. So Daniel will obviously give up the lead and will more than likely go a lap down or be really close. But he's in the best position out of all these guys who are staying out because he's 15 seconds ahead, which gives him a little bit of room. 13 now, as Eric
Whoa.
Wolf is just diminishing that lead.
He is, but we just saw Anthony Burrows pulls up right in front of Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson, oh wow. He's getting very, very close to the 82 there. Him and Chris James are all over one another. I mean, Chris James is sitting with, oh yeah, he's only got 2 laps on his tires. Guys, that just goes to show you. Eric Johnson is currently running with 17 laps on his tires, and he kept Chris James behind him for a long time. He's absolutely racing the wheels off of the car, and I think really, I would love to see his pit strategy work. He took a pit early. He's currently sitting in the 7th position, and he pit about 8 or 9 laps before Eric Wolf and Anthony Burrows did. So he's going to get 1 extra pit stop in here, Zach.
Yeah, and I believe Daniel Hollis might be pitting this time by. Let's check if he is. Yes, indeed, he is going to pit this time by. So I believe John, he'll stay out. So
John Theodore currently leading the race. Gets himself that lap led, collects a little bonus point. Took him a little while, but he got his bonus point.
Yeah,
just
that's
behind
also.
him. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. That's also another reason why these guys try to stay out and hope for a caution is they also want that bonus point. Any bonus point you can get in any of these races goes towards helping you get into the playoffs at the end of the season. You'd never know how crucial they'll be.
Yeah, Zach, it is a long season, and we've already been shown that at least the top 5 drivers, they're going to be the top 5 drivers all season long. We've seen it time and time again. Obviously, the next 5 drivers are pretty solid as well. We see people like Mike Springer. We see guys like Wade Hustad, Chris Stouffer. Those guys are consistently running. Somewhere between 5th and 10th. Every now and then they'll sneak in a top 5. So almost the top 10 is almost set for the season, so long as everybody continues to show up every week. So every little bonus point you can get that could maybe sneak you in towards the end of the season and get you into the playoffs is definitely important.
Yeah, I haven't paid too close attention to these points for the Cup as I run the Grand National Series, as the points are they're very close. First 10th for the Cup Series, I believe. Is it the first 10 or 12 drivers who make the playoffs?
I'm not sure how DRL's doing it this year. I think they're going to run 10 just because we have a smaller sample size than real NASCAR does. But we have, 22 drivers attended this evening, so a little bit smaller sample size. But we do run the full gauntlet of playoff races. And again, I should probably know this being an administrator of the league, but I actually admin the truck series. So in the truck series, I know the playoff format. We're not doing a chase in the Cup Series or, per se. We're kind of doing the old chase format where essentially the last few races of the season, everything gets reset and only 10 drivers are going to be racing for points towards the ends of the season. Those 10 drivers will add up points from the last few races of the season. So unlike eliminations and things like that, I don't know if it's been decided yet here at DRL in the Cup Series whether they're going to do eliminations or not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm checking the points out here, and I mean, you look at if 10th place were to be the cutoff line, the difference between 10th and 20th in points is only about 45 points, which can easily be made up over say a 5 race span. So.
Or a sneaky win or two. You never know who's going to pull it out at Talladega, Zach.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it proved last week. You thought Anthony Burrows was going to win, and, I mean, from what I saw, he dominated that race. and in the end, pit strategy won that race. So
Yep.
never know.
Again, going back to pit strategy, Eric Johnson is now sitting in the 5th position. 23 laps on his tires. Jonathan Theodore has dropped back to 4th. So Theodore is yet to pit, but he's dropped himself to 4th. Where I wonder where he was. And that's the funny part, Zach, as we talk about this. He's now got 49 laps on his tires. He is only going to pit once if this thing stays green. You said you didn't know if it could be done. Well, guess what? It can be done. And it makes me wonder where he was before all of the green flag pits started. He might have actually moved himself forward in the field, and maybe it'll pay off for him by the end of the race.
Yeah, you never know. He qualified 8th place and he's running 4th right now.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't in 4th before those green flag pits came through. I think it ran Anthony Burrows first, Eric Wolf, Jonathan Schwartz, Wade Hustad was in the 4th position. I think Mike Springer ran 5th at that time, or Chad Presnall, Mike Springer ran 5th, Chris Stouffer ran 7th, so he was at least 8th on back, and now he's moved himself up into 4th position, so maybe it will pay off right towards the end of the race. He could sneak away with the top 5.
Yeah, he's pitting right now. Usually a lap, or he pushed that fuel to its limits, so he should be able to make it till the end. As I thought, Eric Wolf came out with the lead, pitting a lap earlier, but those lap old tires, other than Anthony Burrows, that might hurt Eric as well.
Yeah, we're going to see, man. Everybody inside the top 13 has at least 16 laps on their tires right now. So Eric Johnson, who currently sits 6th, has 21 on his. Or I'm sorry, Eric Johnson just pulled down pit road again. So there we see Eric Johnson again. He's decided to split this thing into 3 pit stops. You have Eric Wolf, Anthony Burrows, Wade Hustad. Almost every other driver in the race has split it up into 2 pit stops. And then our lone driver out there, Mr. I'm sorry, what is his name again? John Theodore. He has decided to only pit 1 time. He does have an I rating of 3,200. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing out there, Zach. So we'll see if it works in the long run. We saw this last week. The long pit strategy did not pan out for Eric Wolf last week. But maybe this is a different track, a different story. The fall off is a little different. And maybe we won't have the cautions towards the end of the race so we can see how it really plays out.
Yeah, you've definitely got to think Eric Wolf wants this win badly. He's come so close in the recent weeks. He just wants to be able to pull it off. And going to the iRating situation, the iRating is so different in this league, but that never tells how a person's going to race. You could have a 2K person up here with these 5,000 iRating and still run with them at least.
Yeah, it's impressive, really. If we look, let's see. Top 10. There is only one driver inside the top 10 that is below 2,000 I rating, and that is Aaron M. James in the number 66 Kellogg's car there. Brandon Dalton, he sits with a 2,400. Chad Presnall sits with 3,700. Chris Stouffer sits with 3,700. Mike Springer, who runs 5th, he's got a 3,200 I rating. And then you got Jonathan Schwartz in the 58 with 4,500, Wade Hustad 5,700, Anthony Burrows 49, and Eric Wolf with 53. So, I think there's kind of a barrier there, Zach. And once a guy gets over, really, I would say about the 3,000 mark, that's when, to me, iRating becomes very, very similar. I think, the difference between 3,000 and 5,000 really is just the amount of time you played the game and how long it's taken up to build your I rating little by little, because these guys, yes, they have very high I ratings, but from about 3,000 and on, you're racing in the top split every single time in these official races. So I rating just, if you're a great driver, it continues to climb from there.
Yeah, it's very hard once you get up there. You start to get the higher number, and what I mean by that is 1, 2, 3, those numbers. You start to get that car number. So it makes it that much harder to gain I rating, and these guys show that they can still pull it off, getting a win or second place. It is very tough to get up to that 5,000 like Eric Wolf has, but the speed he's showing,
as we
obviously.
Oh my
Uh-oh.
gosh, Eric Wolf gets very, very loose, almost has a bad accident right in front of Anthony Burrows, and the 62 might be able to take the position here. How do you gather yourself after doing something like that, Zach?
You've just got to reset, and your tires are going to be a little bit. It's going to take you a lap or two to get back into your rhythm. That's going to break up your rhythm a little bit. But you never know with these guys up here. They could get right back into it. But you've just got to settle yourself down, get comfortable, and get back into that run.
Yeah, I think you got to just reset and honestly go back to right back to what you were doing. He's done it for 56 laps. You can't let that upset him too much. One little mistake. Again, these are two of the most consistent drivers I've ever got to witness race, and to watch him make a mistake like that is rare. You know, he's got to have. I know he does, but again, you got to have that mental fortitude just to put yourself right back in, continue doing what you're doing, and not let it upset you too much. As he still has the 82 here beating on the back door. Chris James in the 82 is about 6-7 laps fresher tires, so even though he's further back in the field, he's still knocking on the door of the 24 of Eric Wolf.
I think Wade Hustad is one of these drivers that isn't up in first and second the whole race, but will sneak up and take it from you. And with regaining your control, Eric Wolf, he's going to have that in the back of his head now. Even as great as the driver as he is, whenever you have something like that happen, it's always going to be in the back of your mind, what if I do it again? Will I be able to save it? So you've got to try to get that out of your head and just stay focused.
You know, Zach, I mentioned it earlier. These guys, you know, it absolutely kills me. These guys have ran almost 120 miles. They've had a green flag pit stop where everybody has to get down to speed very, very quickly, pull all the way down a pit road, pull into a pit box, have multiple things changed. You know, the tires are changed out, they add fuel to the car, they come back on the track. And after 120 miles and an hour of racing, these two drivers are within a quarter of a second of one another.
Yeah, some people that aren't in iRacing don't know that even though you're in a simulator, you're not in an actual car, these tracks can beat you up with these lengthy races. Not as much physically, but it can be mentally challenging to stay composed when you're racing this long and not having any breaks with caution. So it's definitely awesome to see.
Yeah, I kind of get myself into a lull when I'm in these longer races, and things like your marks. You know, talked about consistency earlier and hitting your marks and things like that. You start to take those type of things for granted, and then as the tires change and things wear over time, the marks change a little bit. Obviously, you got to let out of the gas a little bit earlier. You got to coast for a little bit longer before you can get back into the gas. And sometimes your muscle memory can get the best of you. And sometimes these races not that they actually put you to sleep, but they kind of put you to sleep over time. You just get used to doing things one way, and then all of a sudden you make a pit stop. Now you got fresh tires. Well, everything just changed all of a sudden, and sometimes mistakes can be made that way. So we saw a little bit of that out of the 24 of Eric Wolf earlier. Because, I'm not one to assume that he just lost control of the car, because he's definitely not a driver that's going to do something like that.
Yeah, he's a very, very talented driver. But Anthony Burrows is just crazy. He's pulling away with it here. Not too much, but he's showing some signs of building a gap over Eric Wolf and Wade Hustad.
As he comes around the 72 there, Daniel Hallis. Daniel Hallis sits in the 13th position, guys. So we only have 12 drivers left on our lead lap here. They're coming up on Dustin Musial in the 22. They are about 5 seconds behind him. Jordan Gonzalez in the number 9 car. He is just over 5 seconds in front. Jeffrey Meyer, Aaron M. James. All of those guys are definitely within distance before these guys make their next pit stop, which we should be seeing probably in 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, that's one thing we'll see when we have these kind of green flag runs is you're not going to have a lot of lead lap cars just because these faster guys are able to catch up to these slower ones. So,
you know what? I won't be surprised if. So last time around, Anthony Burrows stayed out 1 lap longer than Eric Wolf, and as we see, it's coming to 63. He's actually made that work. So either A, what we're going to see is Eric Wolf is going to pit very, very early here, maybe on lap 65, 66, and just try to sneak in 3 or 4 laps before
Ooh.
Anthony Burrows. Oh, as Anthony gets a little loose there. Or you're going to see Anthony Burrows kind of stick out there until lap 70 and hope that that speed gives him back to the lead just before the end of the race, Zach.
Yeah, if Eric Wolf is going to pit early, with this gap that Anthony's building, he's going to have to do it soon because the farther that gap gets, the more time they can make up on you when you're in pit road. So
yeah, the less opportunity he has to make up on him later in the race is actually what. Oh, I was going to say, there's Eric Johnson yet again. As we saw just before that last pit cycle, Eric Johnson, I think we're almost in the exact same situation. He's moving, he's between. This is right where he was. So he was between first and second position when Eric Wolf decided to pit last time. But this time it's on lap 64. Zach, if you remember, last time it was on lap 33. So he's actually done it a couple laps sooner this time around. I think Eric Johnson might be onto something.
yeah, and we'll see by lap 100 if this works. It's looking good, and honestly, take nothing away from Eric. He's fast, obviously, but it's hard to beat Anthony Burrows. And even Eric Wolf, it's hard to beat Anthony Burrows. So sometimes you've just got to out-strategize him. So we'll see if it works out.
You know, that's another thing I was looking at too, Zach. If we go look, Anthony Burrows sits at an I rating of 49.93 with a safety rating of 4.5. Why doesn't Anthony Burrows have an 8,000 I rating?
As we mentioned earlier, you get into these official races and you're a very high number, and so much for you can go wrong more than right. You have to be not perfect. You have to be close to perfect. You have to finish up front in order to gain I rating. And even when you do that, it's very hard to gain a good amount of I rating because you're either the highest or you're close to it. So these guys have to run a lot of races to get up to there. It's very tough to do.
Yeah, what Zach means, guys, by being a high number, the way people order things here in official races is we have Eric Wolf comes down to pit lane, just like I thought. He pits right there on 66, so he definitely split this thing right into thirds. I think Anthony Burrows is going to stay out a lap or two, but so what he means is being a high number, essentially iRacing orders you based on your I rating when you enter into a race, and then it splits all the drivers up into sections of about 24 drivers or so per race in official races. So if you are the highest I rating in a race in iRacing, you actually receive the number 1 car in that official race. It will make your car number 1. You see Anthony Burrows coming down pit road here. So if it makes you number 1, because you're the highest I rating in the race, well, you gain I rating based off of essentially what I rating thinks is you should finish first. If you have the highest I rating, it believes you should finish in the first position. So if you finish anywhere outside of the top 5, you're probably going to lose I rating. However, if you are the number 22 in a race, it thinks you should finish 22nd. So if you finish somewhere like 5th, you're probably going to gain 60, 70, 80 you're going to gain a lot of I rating. So when a driver that has these very high I ratings, like anything over, I would say 4,000, they're probably very high on the list in the top split every single race. So they're racing with the best iRacing has to offer. On top of that, they can't afford to come in anything other than top 5, and when they do, their I rating drops. So that's why you don't get guys running away having 8, 9, 10,000 I ratings. Granted, it's been done in the past. There are currently guys that hold 8,000 I ratings in iRacing, but it is very, very rare, and typically those guys go on to the Peak Series. They go on to getting official NASCAR contracts. So it's actually really, really impressive. Again, that Anthony Burrows does what he does. He's only 15 years, I think maybe 16 years old now, so he's sitting at a 5,000. He stands a good chance. If he has the ability at all in real life to get himself into an actual car or go-karts or modifieds at his local track or anything like that and get experience inside a real car, he has a chance of making something of himself.
Yeah, as Eric Wolf has less of a distance than he did last time that he pitted a lap earlier. And if you guys watch NASCAR, you'll probably heard of William Byron. He is one person who has successfully made it to NASCAR from iRacing. We also have another driver in the Xfinity series. I forget his name, but he's running in the 62, I believe, in the Xfinity series. He came off of iRacing. So iRacing is a very good.
Yeah,
It's a
Byron
very good.
actually just recently got a contract with Hendrick Motorsports, did he?
Yes, he is
Yeah, it's
driving
so
the 24.
impressive, man. That to follow in somebody's shoes like Jeff Gordon, that guy started on iRacing, so it just goes to show how much this game can really translate to real life. It's super impressive. Obviously, these guys aren't putting their lives on the line right now, but it's absolutely amazing how serious everybody takes this game, and how much work and effort and practice goes into it, and that it can translate to real life. As we see, Eric Johnson actually pits earlier. So the last two times we saw him pit, he pit on 24. I think he pit on lap 50, and now he's pitting on lap 71. So he made an even earlier pit stop. He only had, I think, 19 laps on his tires when he comes down pit road. We're going to see if he can make this 3-lap pit strategy work, and I think he might have what it takes, Zach.
Yeah, he's trying to be on as fresh a tires as he can right now to be on pace with these leaders to keep as much of a less of a gap as he can. We'll see how it goes when it comes around. But yeah, Eric Wolf or Anthony Burrows, going back to that, I believe that if he can just get noticed anywhere, I think he might have a good chance of maybe doing good in real life. So just hope he maybe gets a try.
Do you know anything about his situation at all, or if he gets to race go-karts or modifieds or anything like that?
No, I'm not sure. I'll probably talk to him and see. Uh,
Funny part is, Zach, is that to be honest, anybody in here could just be quote unquote computer nerd. I like to play a bunch of different computer games and things like that, and you never know when a younger kid is convinced his parents to buy him a racing wheel and a set of pedals, and he just puts a lot of time into the game. And really, anybody we race around every day could just be one of those guys who never really plans to go out there and get it. But you got to wonder, when you get as good as these guys get, then maybe you start thinking about that stuff. A lot of guys are pulled into iRacing as a way to race when they can't get to the track, but some guys just like NASCAR games, and that's where we get some of our drivers from. So I wonder which one it is with Anthony Burrows.
Also with iRacing, you'll see actual NASCAR drivers, or former Tony Stewart's on here, but you'll see NASCAR drivers actually use this to, say you're a new driver and you need to get used to the track or car. NASCAR drivers will actually use this to get used to that track. As we see Anthony Burrows closing up that gap with Eric Wolf, we'll see how fast he can close that gap.
Zach, the last time we had an entire race here at the DRL go green, it was Daytona last year in the Cup Series. It's been a long time since we've seen these guys go green for this many miles. And you wouldn't expect it on these big 2-mile tracks where everybody's doing 200 miles an hour. You would think somebody's going to make a big enough mistake to bring out a caution flag, and we've yet to have one here this evening. I don't know if one's coming out. I'm going to take a quick break. Guys, I'm going to leave you with Zach. I am currently focused, Zach, on Eric Wolf in the 24 and Anthony Burrows in the 62. Watching them, again, 75 laps in. They're within a quarter of a second of each other, so it should be some exciting action. I will be back in 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, as we see Anthony Burrows still closing up that gap. See if Eric Wolf can hold him off for as long as he can. It's very hard to hold people off at this track. It's so wide, so many places to pass. So it's not like your other places like Martinsville where you can block. This place is very tough. As wow, Eric Wolf really slow out of turn 4 there. Anthony Burrows closed up that gap a lot. So we'll see what happens here at 2. If Anthony gets a good run, he might have him. See what happens going into turn 3. Eric Wolf will still maintain it. But for how long is the question. And don't forget about Wade Hustad in third and Jonathan Schwartz in fourth. Those guys aren't particularly with them right now. Wade Hustad is a second and a half back, and Jonathan Schwartz is 6 seconds back. But with these races, you never know what can happen. Someone can sneak up and take it from you. So Eric and Anthony, as we've mentioned before, are just going to have to stay consistent. And when they do race each other, they just got to make sure they don't wreck each other. Because it's one thing to race hard for the win, but if both of you don't make it to the win, then it was a fail. Can't wreck each other trying to win. Don't want to allow third place to catch up to you. You only want it to be a one-man battle or a two-man battle with racing one other person. So these guys, I believe Anthony's going to be a little bit patient, build a little bit of a gap here on Wade Hustad. And if they can, I mean, Wade Hustad gained a 10th on them last time around. So how long Anthony Burrows will be patient is the real question here. So we'll just have to wait and see. Seems to be quite patient right now. Oh, he's going to go to the outside here. Oh, he's not being patient anymore. Here we go. Side by side for the lead. No. Eric Wolf's blocking a little bit. You can definitely tell Eric Wolf wants this. With only 22 laps to go. Oh, Eric Wolf gets loose off the turn. And that's going to allow Anthony Burrows to get side by side with him here. He might be able to take it going to turn 3.
This is impressive. These guys racing like they are, man. Eric Wolf throws the block on, gets a little bit loose, and he still maintains position over Anthony Burrows.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, yeah, I think he touched the wall a little bit there. Anthony Burrows is going to get side by side with him.
We don't want to see this again week in and week out. We saw it last week. Eric Wolf made a small mental error last week. Gets passed by Anthony Burrows late in the race. We're going to see if he can hang on to it here. These guys still have 20 laps to go. They only have 12 and 13 laps on their tires. Well, 13 and 12, respectively, Eric Wolf and Anthony Burrows. But
yeah,
I don't know if that one lap is going to make the difference or not, Zach.
Last time it proved it did. One lap difference tires here. As it doesn't seem like it can, but it really can, depending on how they wear these tires. 20 laps to go here. It's going to be a great finish to the end.
Yeah, it seems like every one of these little stints, Anthony Burrows seems to pull ahead of Eric Wolf towards the end as he moves down to the inside. But again, Eric Wolf's going to get the run coming out of the corner so long as he can stay out of the wall. Oh, gets a little bit hairy, a little loose.
Eric Wolf is making it tough on Anthony right now.
He is, and he's absolutely driving the wheels off of that car. Anthony Burrows is going to get the pass here. Eric Wolf is tired of getting close to the wall. Maybe not. Eric is not making it easy as he gets loose one more time. Every single corner he comes off and gets that car loose. This is absolutely the most impressive driving I've seen all year by any of these drivers.
You can just tell how hard Eric Wolf is running that car. He's getting loose out of every turn. As I don't think he's going to be able to get to his outside out of this turn, though. But
he finally turns the position over. He was making that as hard as he could on Anthony, and finally coughs the position up.
Yeah, I think if we go green the rest of the way, I don't want to say anything too early because Eric Wolf might be hiding something, but I think if we go green the rest of the way, Anthony might have this one. As we see Wade Hustad sneaking into the picture right now.
Yeah, Wade Hustad is actually closing the gap. You had Anthony and Eric fighting for so long that the 32's been able to battle his way up there. He also has 15 laps on his tires. We go back to the 58 of Jonathan Schwartz. He is, 21 seconds back? Absolutely impressive. We only have 10 drivers left on the lead lap as Brandon Dalton is currently sitting in the 10th position in the 85. So, I just can't... It's absolutely impressive that these guys are so close to each other this far into the race. We are now 83 laps in out of 100, and they're still driving the car the way they are. I think Eric Wolf might have done himself in trying to hold Anthony off there as Wade Hustad moves down to the inside of him. Maybe that little bit of rub against the wall might have hurt Eric earlier.
Yeah, it might have. He only touched a little bit. I think it mainly has to do with him just using those tires up to defend that position. You can use those tires and defend that position, but once you give it up, it's very hard to maintain that spot as Wade Hustad takes it, and Anthony Burrows building a gap over both of them.
And we shouldn't see another pit by these guys. So now Eric Wolf, not only has he worn his tires trying to hold Anthony off, but now if he wants second, he's got to fight Hustad for it.
Yeah, if we look at Eric Johnson, he's running 13 or 12th currently. He just passed Jeffrey Meyer for 13th. That pit strategy isn't working out for him right now as he thought it might. Eric Wolf got loose right there.
It looks like Eric Johnson had come in when he did. Basically, he's only 4 or 5 laps ahead of Burrows and Hustad as far as tires are concerned. So he definitely has some work to do to get himself back to the field. Looks like he might end up kind of where he was before. Go look at John Theodore there in the 89 car with only that one pit stop strategy. He's currently sitting with 34 laps on his tires. The 55 of Presnall is knocking on his door, and Presnall only has half of that on his. So I don't see that working out for Mr. Theodore. But again, I don't know where he was before those initial green flag rotations started working through. So he might have gained himself a couple positions by doing what he did, but definitely not going to capture first or second over these two drivers who are just absolutely impressive.
Yeah, with Eric Johnson, he's going to want to pass Aaron here and then hopefully get a caution. He's got to be praying for a caution here after he hopefully passes it.
You know, and if we were talking about real NASCAR, I think we would see a caution somewhere here in these last, in the next couple laps, really, for debris or something like that. They always seem to throw one at the most inopportune times, but we have gone green all night here tonight. We are now on lap 87 out of 100. And if things continue the way they are, I think Mr. Burrows might be able to race himself right to a victory.
Yeah, he's definitely shown how strong he is on these long runs. Just as we've seen week in and week out, he knows how to get it done with these pit strategies and running these old tires, and it's shown. I think this is going to be a no caution race. I hope I don't jinx it because this has been an amazing race so far. But from what it looks like and how good these guys have run, it looks like we won't get a caution here.
You know, a guy I talked about early in the race, Mike Springer, he continues to run that outer line as the 58 of Jonathan Schwartz goes inside of him and moves into 4th position there.
Oh!
He currently sits in 5th.
Sorry about that. Daniel House got loose out of 4. He saved it, though.
I saw the 72 there just inside of Wade Hustad.
That was very close for Daniel. He's been running a good race so far. It would have been terrible for him to wreck out with about 14 to go.
Yeah, after getting passed by the leaders there, after that little bit of a mistake, he is now 2 laps down. He's our second driver, 2 laps down. Joseph Nover currently sits 15th in the number 40 car. He's also 2 laps down. Then we go to Chris James, who's 1 lap down. Jordan Gonzalez in the number 9 sits 1 lap down. Jeffrey Meyer sits 12th. He is the number 50 car there with the flames all over it. Awesome looking paint scheme he's got going. He sits in 12th position. Eric Johnson, he's a lap down in the 21 there. He's in 11th. Aaron M. James in the 66. Kellogg's car, he sits in 10th. And then Brandon Dalton, the number 85. He's going to be caught real quickly here by the leaders.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Eric Johnson. I feel like if his pit strategies maybe worked out, or if he changed them up a little bit this race, could definitely be up here running in the top 5. Unfortunate race for him. But as we see, Wade Hustad not giving up on Anthony Burrows. He's pulled in within 2/10.
I definitely think he wants it. That's for sure. He's proven himself in pretty much every race. Like I said, he did have some issues last night in those Grand National cars, but he's not giving up on Anthony Burrows, and he's staying within about a half a second gap as Eric Wolf is falling back to about 2 seconds behind the leader. Has to fight his way through a little bit of lap traffic as he comes to the inside there of the number 40 Pennzoil car.
Yeah, just as I expected from Wade. Definitely regrouping from yesterday and running a really good race here.
These
And a
guys
chance
come
to win here.
around, and we are now on lap 92 of 100. Let's see if Wade Hustad has what it takes to catch up to Burrows. Not a particularly, we're having a great time up here in the booth, Zach. Maybe not the most exciting race for our viewers at home. We don't have all the action that we typically have week in and week out, but I'm hoping Wade Hustad can make a run on Burrows as he continues to try to reel him in, and we can have an awesome race to the finish here.
Yeah, it would be an awesome finish to see. But even if we don't have that finish, I mean, it can be a little bit boring with these long green flag runs, especially when we haven't had a caution. But if you really respect racing, or know racing, it's amazing to see these guys go 93 plus laps and not get into any trouble, or at least enough trouble to cause a caution. It's awesome to see.
It looks like Hustad reels him in and then doesn't reel him in. So he was over half a second behind him at the line, and then he dropped it down to about a .483 in the middle of that corner, and now he is back to about 0.6 seconds behind Mr. Burrows. So he's definitely catching him in the corners as he goes back to a .483 behind Burrows, but he's losing him on the straightaway. So what does that tell you as a driver and commentator yourself? Where is Hustad making his mistake?
So right now, Wade is driving the car in harder than Anthony Burrows. Anthony, as you've seen, he's run that second lane. When you run that second lane on these old tires in this car, you have to back up your turn a lot. So Wade's beating him into the turn, but Anthony Burrows is just getting that run off the turn and just kind of diminishes that run that Wade Hustad got.
Yeah, not only is that actually growing the gap between the two of them down the straights, and that's where the start-finish line is, but it's also conserving Anthony's tires by running that higher line.
Yeah, I think as long as he runs his race and doesn't get caught up in any lap cars, Anthony's just about got this one. You can't count Wade out, though, because...
You say that as he approaches the 85 of Brandon Dalton and makes a quick pass to the inside, but we'll see if the 32 of Hustad can get him around him just as easily. I expect him to dive to the inside here, maybe overdrive the corner a little bit, as he does. He dives hard to the inside. The 85 of Brandon Dalton. Huge respect to the guys that are in the lead up here as he also lets Hustad right by. And Hustad's now closed the gap to 0.3 seconds. So that whole exchange actually helped Hustad by about a quarter second or so.
Yeah, just as I thought. If you get caught in that lap traffic, it hurts you. And what I was saying earlier is don't count out Wade, even with 5 to go here, 4.5 laps to go in the backstretch. As Wade gets loose, I think. Even though we say Anthony Burrows is a great driver and doesn't really make mistakes, you never know what's going to happen. Obviously, it's very small chance he's going to make a mistake with this many laps to go. He just wants to finish off this race, but you never know what happens.
Hustad is making things tough in that corner as he gets loose coming out. He's giving the car everything he's got right now.
Yeah, that's a sign that a driver is running as hard as he can. If you see him getting loose, he's not afraid to get loose off that turn, obviously. That shows you he's driving the tires off that car.
He is still diving in a little lower than Anthony Burrows. What does that do? So when you drive into the corner like that, I assume you have to hit more brake. Maybe you're heating those tires up. Well, how can that affect the handling, Zach?
Doing this, it'll burn your right front up more, which causes the car to not turn as well. And yeah, when you dive that deep, you're having to put a lot more brake into it. Hope that you don't brake hop, which doesn't happen a lot here, but if you press on the brake hard enough, it can technically happen. And it causes you to have a slow exit, as we've seen.
You know, I just
Uh,
saw on iRacing, I don't know if it's what actually happened because there are netcode issues, but it looked like Anthony Burrows might have touched the wall just a little bit there in the middle of that apex.
I didn't see it. If he did, it was probably very minimal damage, and it'll most likely be all right.
You know how the 44 of David Wright is actually going to try to make a pass on the 32. David Wright only has 18 laps on his tires, about half that of Wade Hustad. So, so long as it doesn't interfere with Wade Hustad's driving, it's no big deal. But again, this is a gentleman's league. These guys try to be as clean as they possibly can. Lap traffic shouldn't be getting in the way of the guys on the lead laps. So, hopefully David Wright keeps things clean, can keep the wheels under the car, and there's no issues there moving forward.
Yeah, and a representation of how much you have to slow down these cars coming this turn, with almost one to go here, with these old tires. Anthony Burrows going in turn 1 was 203 miles per hour, and by the time he got back on the gas was at 140. So that's a lot of speed that you're taking away going into the turns as we're coming to the white flag here.
Yeah, these guys come around and collect the 5th to the last corner, and we take the white flag. I can't believe it, Zach. We've had a 100% green flag racing here at Auto Club.
Yeah, this is amazing. I love it. I love seeing these kind of races. Guys really showcasing their skills on running on old tires and just overall keeping it out of the wall and not causing any cautions.
The 62 of Burrows staying just ahead of Wright. Wright could probably try to make a pass here any second. He's just going to let Burrows coast around and collect his win. Nothing stopping Anthony Burrows from winning this race at this point, is there?
No, there isn't. As he comes around turn 4, coming to the start-finish line, he will win this race at Auto Club.
And Anthony Burrows takes the first position. Wade Hustad comes across in second, and Eric Wolf collects third. There in the number 24 Dunkin' Donuts car. See, just behind him is the 72 of Daniel Hallis. Jonathan Schwartz in the number 58. He collects the 4th position. And it looks like Mike Springer going to come across 5th.
Oh, really?
Actually, wait, maybe that's
Jonathan
backwards.
Schwartz.
I'm sorry, yeah. Mike Springer takes 4th. Jonathan Schwartz takes 5th. Oh, as Jonathan Schwartz turns the car completely sideways. Looks like he's having a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Just controlling the car like that, man. That's even fun to watch. This guy's got 33 laps on his tires on a hot track in Fontana, California. And he just finished 5th in the race, and he couldn't be more excited, obviously, you know, seeing what he just did there. As we see Anthony Burrows slide across the start-finish line, dumps the car sideways, and we're definitely going to see a burnout from the 62 here. This whole season seems to be the Anthony Burrows show, and we can see why. He gets a chance to prove himself over 200 miles and 100 laps here at Auto Club, and he definitely came out and did it tonight.
Yeah, it showcases how much fun these guys truly have. Obviously, when they're in race, they're going to be very serious. They're going to be making sure they're good with their braking points and stuff. But after the race, these guys are having fun, and it's always fun to be around these guys.
Well, we are going to go down as we see the 62 pulls across the infield here. Obviously headed towards victory lane. We're going to pull him in and get an interview with Anthony Burrows and see how he feels as he poses for the picture. The 19th hole victory lane there by Fuzzy's Ultra Premium Vodka. Oh man, what a race that was, Zach. That was friggin' fun to watch, man.
That was great, and a great win by Anthony, and just definitely Wade there. He's finishing second. That was pretty impressive by him to come out of nowhere.
How many laps did we have led by Mr. Burrows there? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
I'm going to pull up real quick the unofficial results. We'll see how many laps. He led 48 of the laps. Eric Wolf led, looks like 32 of them. So let's pull Anthony Burrows in here and get a quick interview with the gentleman.
Alrighty.
Anthony Burrows, you got a copy, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hey, dude, you started on the pole position. You led the most laps of the evening. At times, it seemed like Eric had you, but late in the runs, you were able to catch him every single time, man. How's it feel? Another victory here.
It's amazing. I did not expect to come out and win 3 of the first 5 races. We got a bunch of new guys in here really quick. This is awesome. I had a ton of fun tonight.
You know, me and Zach were talking earlier. I questioned him. I said, "Why isn't Anthony Burrows an 8,000 I rating? What is it like? I mean, you run out there every single week. I mean, we see you come out. A guy like Eric Wolf pushes as hard as he can. We know how good he is here at Auto Club, and you still come out and you get a victory and you make it look handy, man. I don't understand. You definitely have a bright future ahead of you."
Thank you. It means a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say I deserve an 8K, but yeah, it's cool to come out here and beat guys like Eric. He's such an amazing driver, and Wade and Eric Johnson, all those guys. It just means a lot to come out here and run with them.
Hey, man, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
16.
16. I see. I thought I said 15 or 16 earlier, so I thought so. Is motorsports kind of is it a secondary thing to you? Are you just a quote unquote computer nerd? You just like playing video games, or is motorsports kind of how you were brought up? And is this something you do in addition to racing in real life?
I don't race in real life, but I've been into racing pretty much my entire life. Yeah, I love racing a ton. Yeah, I got iRacing a couple years back, and yeah, I've just had a blast on here ever since.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations again on the victory. We're gonna have to rename the series, the DRL Anthony Burrows series here after a while. Hopefully, we'll see you back again next week. You got a shout out you want to give to anybody, Anthony?
Yeah, definitely shout out to Wade and Eric and all those guys that raced up at the front today. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to everyone for keeping it clean tonight. Love green flag racing, love long runs and all that. Thanks to you for putting on the broadcast, and James and everyone for putting on this awesome league.
Awesome, Anthony. You have a good night, man, and we'll see you back next week.
Thank you.
Great race, Anthony.
All right, we're gonna now bring in Mr. Wade Hustad. We'll go ahead and pull him in here and see what his thoughts are after he finishes in second. Wade Hustad, you got a copy, my friend?
Yeah, hey there, Ryan.
Hey, man, running a little different paint scheme tonight. What's with the change-up?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it should be that no fear car that I have, but other than that, just trying to stay consistent on that track.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. I updated my trading paints and everything. I actually see a different car for you. You're kind of in an all-white car tonight. You started in third, you finished in second. What's it like racing against Mr. Burrows out there? You know, we questioned his I rating and why he isn't a higher I rating earlier, because he comes out and impresses every single week. Do you think if you had more laps, you could have caught him, or was he just untouchable at that point?
You know, I was able to catch him, but honest to God, I kind of burned up my stuff getting up to Eric and Anthony. I was just trying to stay up with them, and with a couple laps to go, I didn't really have much left. But Anthony, as far as I rating goes, throw that out the window, man. That's just, I guess, your consistency as you would look at it. But it's about just staying smooth, and Eric and Anthony, they definitely keep everybody honest, and it's about long green flag runs. It proved to everybody tonight to hang in there and be consistent. So.
Yeah, you had some issues last night in our Grand National series on a restart there. You didn't actually have that plague you this evenings because we didn't have any restarts. What's it like to run a whole race green like we did this evening?
It's definitely mentally taxing. It takes some dedication to stay focused. I mean, it's so easy to drift off and be off, a tenth or two. You just have to stay focused. I try to stay hydrated, but it's hard to grab that water bottle while you're racing. So, honest to God, this is the first green flag race that I've really ever had. So it was a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, it's only the second one we've had here with the DRL. We actually ran green flag all race long last year at Daytona, which you would never think is going to happen at a restrictor plate track, but it did. Second time here tonight. It was an absolute pleasure to watch. Congratulations on the second place finish. You are a rookie here. It's awesome to see you come out and compete the way you have. You got a shout out you want to give to anybody, or actually, before I do that, Zach has a question he'd like to ask you.
Alrighty. So yesterday you obviously had a tough race. how were you able to get that out of your mind and come to this race fresh-minded and do this race and have a clean race?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gets to you having a race like yesterday, but stuff happens. You're gonna be dealt a hand of cards that really isn't in your favor, and that was last night. But I dwelled on it a little bit today. But once you get in that car, it's completely different. I mean, this car's a little faster, and I put everything aside and didn't think about it once, and just stay consistent. That's all I could preach.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Good finish.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
Yeah, we saw you there towards the end of the race. The back end of the car was wiggling the whole time, and as Eric Wolf, probably with about 10 to 12 to go, he was trying to hold Anthony Burrows off, and I think it was 4 or 5 laps in a row. Out of every single corner, you would see the back end of the car wiggle a little bit. You guys just drove amazing. Shout outs you want to give tonight, Wade?
You guys for putting on the broadcast, James, all the administrators on the league, DRL, Fastlane, the sponsor for this league, and just everyone for racing clean. Chad, one of my good friends on here for a long time. It's just a blast.
Awesome, Wade. Hopefully we'll see you again next week, man. Have a good night.
Absolutely. You guys too.
Now, he is actually already in the room. We are going to bring Eric Wolf in here and see his thoughts on the third place finish that he managed. Eric Wolf, you got a copy, my friend?
Yeah, I got you, Ryan.
Hey, man, you finished in third position. I know maybe not the finish that you were hoping for after leading as many laps as you did. What happened there towards the end? Did you just put too much into the car to try to hold Mr. Burrows off?
Yeah, he was a little better than me the whole race, and whenever we made that last pit stop there and it came out, I tried to run it as hard as I could, and he still ran me down. I mean, one lap doesn't seem like much, but it does help you a little bit with his tires. But I tried to run him as hard as I could to hope he would wear his stuff out, but wore my stuff out a little bit more than him in the process. But he was so fast. I mean, I ran a fantastic race. I made no mistakes other than just pushing off the corners a little bit. But he spanked the whole field pretty good.
Yeah, I think you were in here when I said what I said about you driving there, trying to hold him off, man. We could just see you driving the wheels off of that friggin' car. I mean, it was getting loose. It wanted to snap loose out of you, on you out of every corner, and you continued to make your way around as quick as you could, and he still managed to close the gap and get around. Did you expect Mr. Hustad to make the move he did towards the end of that race?
Nah, I was surprised he came up there, but with us battling like that, I know we were costing each other time. But like I said, I was hoping I'd wear him out enough that I could hold him off. It's funny, I came off a turn 4 the one time after like 4 or 5 laps into our battle, and I looked see how many laps to go, and I saw there's still 20 to go, and I thought, oh no, this is going to be impossible.
Yeah, I can't believe he made the pass as early as he did. Typically, in those first 2 green flag runs, it was a little later in the run, probably 10 to 12 laps in, and he made it happen in about 7 or 8 this time around. So, either way, man, you get another third place, top threes consistently every single week, and if you stay that consistent, obviously we're going to see you in the playoffs. So, congratulations again on finishing third. You got a shout out you want to give to anyone?
Yeah, Anthony. There's not very many guys you can race that hard with and trust that much that when you can be wiggling around coming off the corners and know you're not going to get taken out. Just he's a really classy racer. I love racing against him. Great win to him. And everybody else who I was around too. Several guys made great saves. I wasn't even around. I know Hallis, he made a great one coming off 4. I mean, just really good driving by these guys in this league. It's nice to be a part of it. I want to thank you guys too for doing the broadcast. I know it's a big time commitment. You guys make it fun.
Yeah, it's an absolute blast. Again, every single week, you guys seem like you get better and better, and everybody in the league. I mean, to come into a racetrack and go 100% green. I don't know when the last time I've seen it. I've never seen it on a stream before. And again, the last time we did it was at Daytona last year, so it's been some time. And we almost did it last week. I mean, we had a few cautions stack up towards the end of the race last week, and but until I think it was lap like 76, there was no cautions last week. So
yeah,
awesome.
I think it was actually like 120 or something. But Homestead, we ran all green. But you're right, it doesn't happen very often.
And Eric, when you guys put on that kind of a race, you make it really easy to sit up here for an hour and a half and
Yeah, talking
Yeah.
about a time commitment, man. It's
Yeah, I bet
whatever.
it was
Watching
fun
you
to
guys
watch.
race is stupid fun. So, hey, thanks again, Eric. Hopefully, we'll be interviewing you again next week, man. Take it easy.
All right, you guys too.
Have a good night.
All right. So, I got one more driver I'd like to bring in here. Let's see if he is around. I'm actually going to bring in a driver who's brand new to the league. So, I think tonight was his first race with us. Let's see if I can find him here.
Yes, indeed, his first Cup race.
Hang on one second. We're going to see if I can find him. Who I want to pull. I want to pull. I want to pull John Theodore in here. Tonight was his first race with us, and he actually comes away with the top 10. So, I would like to interview him.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to hop into a
There he
race
is.
chat.
I got him right now. Mr. Theodore, you got a copy?
Yes, I do, sir. How you doing?
Fantastic. Hey, tonight was your first race with the DRL, man, and it looks like you come away with the top 10. You finished 8th tonight. How's it feel? What do you think of the Dynasty Racing League?
I'm enjoying it, man. I had a lot of fun. My viewers on my stream at twitch.tv/John A. Theodore seem to enjoy it as well. So that was pretty good.
Hey, man, you started in 8th position. You finished in 8th. It kind of looked like you took a similar pit strategy to most of the drivers this evening. You did the 2-pit strat. You were the last driver on the lead lap. It wasn't easy to stay on the lead lap, man. We got some awesome drivers in the league, right?
Yeah, man. Actually, I did. I was the only one on a counter strategy. I did a one-stop strategy and managed to make it work. So started 8th, fell back to around 12th because I was saving fuel right from the beginning. And then it ended up working out that I finished where I started. So,
Oh, yeah, you were very correct. I don't know why I let that slip my mind. We were talking about you all night. So what we had last week, we had Eric Wolf tried a very similar thing. So he tried a one-stop strategy, did not work out for him at all. Same thing happened tonight. So these guys who finished, most of the guys who finished in the top 5 last week, they were all on a 2-stop strategy.
yeah,
Eric Johnson tried a 3-stop strategy. Same thing this evening. And last week it was Eric Wolf that tried the one-stop thing. And tonight you did it. He didn't make it really work last week, but we got some cautions, so he kind of got lucky towards the end. There was no cautions tonight, and you still managed to finish in the top 10. So
yeah. I mean, the thing that was is that the way that I was thinking it is that I'm not. I know I'm not as fast as Eric and Anthony, so I'm not. There's no way I'm beating those guys on raw speed. And with trying an alternate fuse strategy, there were a couple points in the race where a caution at that point would have given me a real boost in track position, and then I would have obviously raced differently from there. But I knew that if it went green the whole way, it was probably going to work out about where I would have finished anyway. I think that given that I qualified 8th, around 8th was probably about where I was going to finish, regardless of strategy.
right,
So,
yeah, lucky caution definitely could have saved you, but the whole and that's what I was questioning early. I hadn't pulled up your player card to see where you actually started. My questioning was, where did you start before that very first green flag cycle came out, and you came in right where you qualified.
mhm.
Great finish tonight. Do you plan to attend the rest of the Cup Series this year?
Yeah, that's the series I'm running for points. So I'm planning on doing that. I also got to plug the sponsor that I'm running in the Cup Series car, which is Cori Bush for Congress 2018. She's a Justice Democrat and a personal friend running here in the first district, Missouri's first district, which is St. Louis City and North St. Louis County.
Awesome, man. Nothing wrong with shout outs. Anybody else you want to give a quick shout out to before I let you go tonight?
Yeah, give a shout out, to all my Twitch viewers, particularly Mike Seal, who has helped me through a lot of stuff. Shout out to my folks, and shout out to my girlfriend for putting up with all of my iRacing.
Hey, man, we all got that to deal with. Pleasure to watch you race, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the future, man. Have a good night.
Thanks, you
Great
too, man.
race, John. Great race.
Thank you.
All right, Zach. It looks like that is going to wrap it up for this evening. I'm going to go through. We're going to look at the unofficial results real quick. We had Anthony Burrows finishing first yet again with 48 laps led. Wade Hustad finishes second, the number 32. Eric Wolf third. Mike Springer finishes fourth. Jonathan Schwartz in the fifth position. He led 4 laps. Chad Presnall finishes sixth, the number 55. Chris Stouffer seventh. John Theodore, the good gentleman we were just speaking with, he got 4 of those laps led on that late first green flag run on his old tires. Brandon Dalton finishes ninth in the number 85. Aaron James finishes 10th. If Eric Johnson finishes 11th, he went with that 3-stop strategy, finishes 1 lap down, 11th position in the number 21. Jeffrey Meyer finishes 12th. Chris James 13th, Jordan Gonzalez 14th, David Wright finishes 15th, Daniel Hallis 16th, Joseph Nover 17th, John Mullins in number 64 finishes 18th, Joshua Wakefield in the 35 19th, David Wellborn, old trusty there, he finishes in 20th. Dustin Musial 22nd, Zachary Smith, Dustin Musial 21st. That's the second time I've done that tonight. You know that, Zach? I look at his number and I call it 22nd. He finishes in the 21st position. Zachary Smith finishes 22nd, and Chris Torrance now 2 weeks in a row. He only runs a few laps here. He finishes 23rd. Then, of course, the guys you see on screen there, that is Mark Vega and Tater Bowman. Huge shout out to them. They are our race control for the evening.
Yeah, they definitely put on a great league for these guys to showcase what they did tonight.
And we're going to go look at next race. We are going to come back to you live again here. Again, this is 2 weeks in a row now. The truck series is a little bit thinner than the other series, so the trucks will not be here tomorrow night. Next race is going to be the Northeast Ohio Ghostbusters Grand National Series. We're going to be doing 200 laps around Martinsville. It should be an absolute blast. We're in Ridgeway, Virginia. That is next Monday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That'll be brought to you by David Wellborn, and he has now Mr. Chris James. He will no longer be joining us in the booth on Monday nights. We think we have a replacement. Hopefully, we'll be welcoming Mr. Getty Buckner next Monday night. And I might actually have you, Zach. You might be back next week, depending Martin's schedule currently, if you're willing to join me. And
well, if he's not able to show up, I'm more than willing to. This was a bunch of fun, and Martinsville is definitely an interesting track to watch.
Yeah, that'll be coming next Tuesday night. Fastlane Complete Car Care LLC. Huge shout out to them for sponsoring the series. We'll be doing 250 laps next week. It's 131.5 miles. Very small track in Martinsville. It's kind of a beast of its own, isn't it, Zach?
Oh yeah, bunch of blocking, bumping. It's a very hard track to stay clean. So we'll see what kind of show they can put on next week.
Yeah, it might be a little different story than what we saw tonight. Rather than nothing but green, it might be nothing but yellows. But we'll see how that pans out. I want to go through the credits here. We're gonna look. Thank you. Huge shout out to everybody involved with the Dynasty Racing League. You know, we talk about this every week. For all the viewers at home, there's so much time that goes into bringing you these productions every week. James Pandoff, Tater Bowman, the owners of the league, big shout out to them. Again, I say it every week. Tater Bowman got everything off the ground last year with the Navy Chiefs Cup Series. You know, he provided the financial standing to get Dynasty Racing League to where it is today. We still are interested in sponsorships. If anybody's interested in sponsoring a race, please contact us at www.dynastyracingleague.com. We're happy, to set up individual race sponsorships, multi-race sponsorships, anything like that. Give us a ring and we'll see what we can do. Martin Wenzel, Jordan Gonzalez doing all the graphics, getting everything onto the screen to show you guys this evening. Same thing, it's all the technical work, marketing, big thanks to Jordan for that. Myself, Daniel Hallis, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, David Wellborn, Chris James early in the season, hopefully coming up with Getty Buckner. Big thanks to you for joining me tonight, Zach.
No problem, man.
Everybody involved with the DRL, man. It's, this is definitely the drivers' league. We tell them that before every single race. We, if anybody has any questions, issues, comments, concerns, the drivers control this league. If it wasn't for them showing up every week, we wouldn't have a league. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again for joining me, Zach. You got anything else for our viewers before we sign out of here tonight?
I was just going to say one thing that you viewers, unless you are viewing, you're part of the league, is you don't see behind the scenes of these drivers are so helpful to each other. We have a specific thing for lap times. There's so much help between drivers to help each other get fast. Nobody's afraid to lend a hand.
Yeah, nobody's afraid to
and
give
it's
away
just-
their secrets, right?
Yeah, other than maybe Anthony Bros and Eric Wolf, I don't think anybody could replicate their secrets.
Yeah,
But it's just a really awesome league to be a part of.
it is. Thanks again, Zach. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you back. I will see you again next Tuesday, and again, Dynasty Racing will be live again next Monday night. Have a good one, everybody.